Hey, so welcome back to all of our listeners, which is growing every time we release one of our videos. So it's awesome to have everyone tuning in. Steff and I had a little chat about who we wanted to get on as a guest next. And Georgia, who you can see is with us today. Hello, Georgia.
Hello.
We met at a show actually, and we just hit it off. Those that compete and are listening can get that sort of feel where sometimes you're just at a show and you could be getting tanned or whatever it is, and you meet someone and you just hit it off. And with things like Instagram and what have you, you can maintain that contact. And we've just ended up supporting each other for the last couple of years. And we don't see each other in person because we live quite far apart, but it's really nice because we just have that contact. And you know, you get a level of understanding when you all compete. You don't have to explain anything. It all makes sense. So really awesome to get Georgia on. And today we're going to be talking about how, I guess, I don't know if battle is the right word, but how you've come through as a competitor dealing with psoriasis and those challenges that you face. Essentially, what Steff and I try and do is air as much as we can and give advice on as much as we can with something like a skin condition. It just shows what you've done, Georgia, what you've achieved so far, how you can still do that when you've got injuries, skin conditions, anything like that. A bit like we normally do, opening the floor to sort of organic questions and seeing where it leads, and just hopefully helping the listeners realise that if you get a challenge come up, you can push on and there's different coping strategies that you can bring in. So great opportunity for us to do that. Georgia, if you could give a bit of an intro as to where it all started for you becoming a competitor.
So it started from that, to be fair, because being in Cornwall, there isn't a lot of the atmosphere of it. Kind of always had psoriasis. It wasn't that bad, but I had it enough that, you know, no one likes it no matter where it is. And I went for a bit of a shitty time, and basically I was just covered in it. So I was very much like, that's another story in itself that I could go down, but that was a journey in itself to get over that, to think that that's now me. And then basically when I met Matt, it was one of those things that I said, like, you kind of see people competing and then you're in the gym and you like the idea of it, but you don't want to sound stupid saying it out loud, because that just, you'll never be one of those girls. Like, why would you say that? And then you'd make excuses like, well, I couldn't do it anyway because my stomach by this point was absolutely covered. Like my first check-in photos, I was relying heavily on steroid cream for my stomach and my back. My arms had calmed down a little bit by then. So I was very much like, oh, can't say it out loud because that just sounds so stupid. Like, why would you say something like that? And he was the one that was like, well, why don't you just give it a go? And I was like, oh, I don't know where to start. Like, oh my God, no, that sounds really weird. But yeah, so with his support, I ended up finding a coach and just kind of was like, why not? Like, what's going to happen? And then I tried numerous creams, and my logic was, worst comes to worst, if it's really, really bad on my stomach, I will just steroid cream the hell out of my stomach. So I'm going to look like a leopard on stage. Like, it's just going to be like still stuck. All the tan's going to be stuck to me. And Matt was like, that's going to make you stand out. You're just going to look so unique from it and all this. So I made sure that it wasn't going to stop me doing it, but I had a backup in case. And I think through the diet and I just moisturized. You would think I was some sort of like burned victim. Like, I was just covering my skin all the time. And I think through the whole food diet and moisturizing, I was very fortunate that even now I've got it on my neck, my back of my neck, my side, and a little bit down here, a little bit on my arm, but it's really blotchy now. But I got to the point, I don't actually do anything for it now. Like, I do skin prep now because I try and be a good bikini competitor, being so close. But otherwise, I don't actually do a lot to really look after it now, because I've got so far mentally, which I'm quite proud of, that it's me. Like, you know, I don't need to hide it. If it's there, it's there. If I'm having a bad day, it flares up. If I'm having a really good time, it's not really there. And, you know, the only person that would really see it is my coach for my check-ins and Matt, or if I'm ever on holiday and I'm around a bunch of strangers anyway. So it's not the end of the world. And I've been very fortunate that it has settled down. And for show day, you just wouldn't even know it was there. But I made sure that even though I started off being absolutely covered, that wasn't going to stop me at least giving this a go, because that was only one of the few things that scared me amongst it. So I wasn't going to let that be amongst everything else that's going to stop me doing it. So we did try and start thinking, do you know what, this might help other people because I am covered, and start learning to just not give a I don't know if I can swear.
No,
but
yeah,
not give a shit about what anyone else thinks, because who the fuck are they? Like, you know, you're doing it for you. So yeah, that was the main reason that I was like, right, let's just give it a go, because it's one of those things where you just don't know if you don't do it. And like I said, I got very lucky that it did calm down, I think, through everything. And even now, I've still got it now, but if it's there on a show day. I'm not going to let it be one of those things that makes me freak out when there's a million other reasons to freak out on a show day. So you're in control of things like that. So yeah, that was the main reason with things like that. It was just kind of going ahead and just telling yourself to do it, because you just don't do anything unless you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And I guess that's the point, isn't it, in a lot of this? And like you said, and Steff and I always say this, it has to be for your own internal reasons when you do something like a prep, because it's not when you're getting up at 5 a.m. to do cardio, and when you're going to the gym when it's raining, and when you're tired and you're hungry. If you don't want to do it, it's going to be very, very hard to do the prep. And it's, you know, then getting to show day and being able to do that and then deal with the post-show period and everything else. If it's for the wrong reasons, it's going to be terribly hard on yourself.
Yeah, it's got to be something you fully believe that you can do every day. And I think that's the thing. So skin condition or not, I knew there was going to be a lot more that I have to tackle. Like even just posing in the gym, like if I can't just block out some strangers to pose in front of them, like how am I going to pose in front of a stage? My logic was, I learned this logic, and it's so silly because it's a Dr. Seuss saying, but I absolutely love it. Anyone that cares doesn't matter, and anyone that matters doesn't care. So that was my logic with my skin, because I used to have it all over my arms when I first started going back to the gym, and I used to get stared at, and like, look, I don't have really anything on my arms now, but I used to think, do you know what, actually anyone that knows me knows I've got a skin condition, like it's fine, it's psoriasis, like I'm not infecting all the weight, something. And anyone that doesn't know me and wants to look at me like I have got an issue, then that's their problem. I don't know them anyway, so I'm going to carry on doing me. And it's a very, very strong mindset to shift your head around, because it's very easy to say sometimes but not to do. And one of the first pictures I ever shared of my stomach, it was when my skin was good, it was having a good day, and for me that was a big stretch to like share it. Then I slowly shared more and more. Now like I've got pictures of me in a bikini where it was at my worst when I started prepping, and like I said, I'm fortunate now that it's settled down so much. But I think that is also through the fact that I do have a completely different mindset, and I'm not a massive stress head now.
Because it essentially, from what I understand, is that a lot of skin conditions like psoriasis, and Steff, we're going to talk about eczema a little bit, it can be quite stress induced. Oh
my god, I used to be the biggest stress head ever going. I still worry about everything now. Like I'm a bit OCD, especially prep. I'm very much like routine, habit. If you take me out of my routine, I'm like, I can't deal with this. But I'm a lot better than what I was. I used to just be a stress head over everything, and my mindset is the strongest part now. I'm like, right, control what I can control. I can't control what life throws at me. I can control my actions, and that mindset has changed my attitude, which then I think has definitely helped my skin. And a lot of it is just not really caring what other people think. And Matt's taught me a lot with that, because like I said, he's the one that was like, just go compete. He's the one whose opinion I value the most, and he's the one who supported me. So I'm like, well, I've got my supporter there, who the person that I care about doesn't give a shit. So for everyone else.
That's where your thoughts become things comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, what you think about something will make that world kind of come to life for you. And if you allow your skin condition or like your psoriasis to control you, you end up stopping doing a lot of the things that you enjoy in your life. And I can let's see, when you're speaking about everything there, Georgia, I can totally sympathize and empathize with some of that, because I've been through similar situations myself, in a slightly different way. But when it's something visible like psoriasis, eczema, and it's on your skin, you have to go through kind of a whole mindset. Well, you have to go through kind of almost like an acceptance of yourself. Allow yourself to be okay around other people. It's a bizarre thing.
My biggest learning thing is actually before I competed, I got asked to work at Body Power for a pre-workout company, and I nearly said no, because I was single at the time, and I was like, right, I'm going to say yes to more. And then they were like, right, do you want to do this? And I was like, oh no, like, why do I want to work at Body Power around people that are really, really good shape? And I was not at the time, and I had this skin issue, I was like, right, no, I'm saying yes to more. I managed to get my friend roped in to help me. And I remember I've got pictures. My first day I was in like a really long crop top. They ideally wanted us in shorts and a sports bra, running around, all this. And I did in the end, because I just didn't care. But the first day, leggings, long sports bra, getting the feel of it. Second day, I was more comfortable, happy to wear shorts, sports bra, and stomach was out, arms were out. And actually, literally the turning point was I had so many people. You work it up in your head that so many people are going to be like, oh my God, what's on your stomach? Oh my God, what's on your neck?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what is that? But actually, I had so many people with psoriasis, with eczema, with alopecia, with anything, and they all wanted pictures. They're like, I love the fact that you've just got it out, you do not care, I've got this. And you would look at them and be like, you don't look like you've got anything, like you don't look like you've got a skin. And then you just have an eye opener to think, do you know what, everyone actually has an insecurity, everyone has something they hate. But if you can just go, do you know what, sod it, and realize everyone does, then you attract the right kind of people anyway. Because who gives a crap about the people that are just going to be judgy about it, when actually you've got loads of people. And like this, I've still got it now, and it was one of the best weekends ever, because I connected with so many people that love the fact that I was just like I said, it was just all over my stomach, it was all over my back, and I was there like deadlifting my mate, and you could see it, like there's videos, and it's all over my back, like red raw. And no one cares, no one's judging you for it, like everyone's just loving you for you. That's all that matters. So yeah, that was a massive turning point for me, to be like, do you know what, just do you and just have fun, because otherwise you're not gonna have fun if you're worried so much about that.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. It's like, I totally admire that shift in your mindset. I know so many people, and I've had this discussion with a couple of my clients as well, who've got skin conditions, and it's, you know, the same kind of mindset like you spoke about on your first day of going to that body power. They cover themselves up, they're in the gym, they're wearing like long sleeve tops all the time. They do not have the self-confidence to actually just accept that
and be in the moment and enjoy. They're holding back.
Yeah, totally. And I have to say, you know, I'm a sort of I suppose a example of that as well, because when my eczema's been really bad, so similar to you, wrists, arms, back, shoulders, have had it all over my neck, you know, all of this area. And I have to admit, like when I've had it extraordinarily bad, and it's funny that we're having this conversation because it's been really recent, I've had a bad bout of it, that it really makes you feel so, what's the word? It is insecure, but you feel ugly. Like
you still, and you want to rein in your thoughts and be like, no, like this is fine, it will go, it's, you know, it comes and goes and all this. And like I said, I always think, do you know what, mine has never been as bad as it was when it did have that big flare up. So in my head, I'm like, well, it's never going to be, or it hasn't ever been that bad. So when it does flare up, I just am fine. But when it does, like on my neck, you are still a little bit like, oh, everyone can see it. Like I can see it on my check-ins because it's right at the back here. I move my hair, you see a big chunk of it. So I'm a little bit worried with tanning and stuff. But then I've just got to the point where I'm like, do you know what? I'll have it in moisturizer, and what will be will be. I can't tell it to go away. I can't tell it to be there. Like, but yeah, you have to like give yourself a talking to sometimes, and because you can't help it. It's very easy to preach like it's fine and all this stuff, but when it does actually then flare up on you and it does give you that feeling of feeling crap again, you can't always control your thoughts, and you are going to have the down days, but it's just making sure that you trying to remind yourself that it's going to be okay again. So it's perfectly normal.
You just mentioned something there about just from a competing standpoint, like, oh, I'll just add some moisturizer and I'll put it on and it'll be okay. You know, from that side as well, see when you are backstage, and even if you do have blotchy skin or the tan doesn't take all that well, or you're having to do a lot more skin prep to get your skin ready for getting on stage, when you get on stage, the lights block out every imperfection. Once you've got that tan on, you wouldn't be able to tell, you know, where you have a patch of this or that, because it's the tan is designed, and with the lighting in tandem, kind of just sheen over you, you know. So I think we build it up as well, don't we? Like I've had 10-15 years of tanning, right? And not once does it go on just so smoothly, you know, like when you see the girls, like the other girls putting it on and it's going on like a dream, and you're there like Christ's sake, like I've got like the but you never see it. So it's something to keep in mind, especially to a listener who's, you know, thinking, God, what about stage tanning? honestly, it's not as bad as you think at all.
No.
Even with tanning, like I don't have problems as such with my skin, but every time in my first probably 3 seasons I got a tan, you know, obviously when you go for a wee you get the mark.
Yeah.
And all the little you might like take a sip of your water and you get a small dot.
Oh, yeah.
And when I first started out, I used to be like, I'd say to Kieran and my mum and my stepdad, I don't know what to do. I've got this mark, and I'd be freaking out. And then I'd go and see the tanner to top up or for the glaze, and they'd be like, you won't see that on stage.
Yeah.
You really do zone in on when you're a competitor, especially, you know, when you're finding your feet in the sport, you zone in on every single bit of minutia.
Because you've worked so hard to get to that point, you're then being very picky about everything.
Yeah.
And it's like either you're not going to see it or someone will help you. Like that's another big thing. I was such a stress head. But if something's that bad, like if you have that tan, even if you haven't, like nearly all the tanning companies are just so amazing that from the minimal experience I've had, I've always paid for a full coat because I'd rather just cover myself and know it's in their hands. But I'm sure even if you paid for half, even if you didn't go to them and you were having a tanning disaster, I can't imagine anyone in the competing world is going to be like, sort yourself out. Like everyone wants them to do well. Everyone wants to support each other. So there's always going to be someone that will help you. And so when it is your tan or something, they will do whatever they can to help you because they don't want you panicking or stressing. So that's the biggest thing. Like as busy as it is and as much as they're running themselves to the ground, tanning companies are normally always lovely and they will help you if you do have a worry. I'm more worried about my dry knees than I am my skin condition. Always getting brown knees.
Do you find, Georgia, with where the journey you've been on with your skin condition, do you find that a lot of the things when you have a flare up or the challenges you faced, does that help you when you're in prep and you think, you know, I've been in such a bad place because I'm a bit hungry or I'm overtrained, I can push through this?
100%. I think because like I learned a lot before my competing journey about myself, like with doing body part. And I remember I went to Ibiza. I've got pictures of me in Ibiza where I've got spots all over me in a bikini, because I nearly didn't do that because I was just like, oh, it's just me and my friend. And then it's taught me the skit. Like I cannot actually thank it enough, the fact that I had this lesson from this skin condition and the lessons I've learned from bikini competing. Like I'm a just different person, and like you wouldn't know the person from like 4 years ago, 3 years ago to the person I am now, because I just feel so much more confident in myself and more resilient. And that's the thing, the people you meet along your competing journey, like there's other people with skin conditions and there's other people with even just skin issues that you can really see. And then it sounds like there's always someone worse than you that's always probably got a better attitude than you, like, and that's what you've always got to learn. Like everyone's always taking, you know, the hand they dealt and they're doing the best out of the situation. So 100% with those tough days, like today's a rest day and I'm on very little calories, but I'm like, right, this end goal's so important to me. And I learned so much because the first prep, you just don't know what you're expecting. Like you can prep all you like with like feeling excited, but you don't know the stage. But when you come off stage and you realize, oh God, that I do want to do that again. Since, like I said earlier to Steph, I came off stage and basically coached myself for about a year, and then I jumped on with Erin, and I just said from the moment, like lockdown 1, lockdown 2, like I didn't miss a beat. I had my own plans. I checked in with myself. I just increased my own food. I turned into a bit of a potato, but I was still like I would swap my rice to my bagel, and like I was still so on it. And like now obviously with Erin, like I'm just feel so like this is what I want to do, because my mindset is just so routine and programmed now that I love having a purpose and a reason and a drive, and obviously having the business now and proving to other girls, because I think before a few years ago I was very much kind of told by other people I couldn't do a lot of stuff, and I was very much programmed to think I couldn't. I didn't look like anything special, and then it made it even worse because I didn't have the skin condition as bad, and then I got that and I was like, well, I'm definitely not now. And it is trying to pass that on, that do you know what, you can just do whatever the hell you want, and just no one should be able to stop you from doing anything, no matter what you look like, no matter how you feel, no matter what stage in your journey you are. Because like there's so many young girls doing it and I feel old compared to them, but they're like, oh, I'm nearly past it. I'm like, you're 23. I'm at 30 next year.
No, it's
but it gives you that drive to just keep going, doesn't it? Like, and have that motivation to want to do it.
Absolutely. I think as well, like you've got so much more to look forward to and more to kind of think about than what, like, again, back to the skin, like, what's holding you back, and just hearing you kind of see, you know, because the journey to where you are now, just from a personal experience, I know can't have been easy, because it is extremely, how do I put it? If we just talk about skin conditions as a baseline, you experience high levels of itching, stinging skin, potentially, like, I've woken up when mine's been really bad, having subconsciously itched through the night, and my skin is,
and then you're bleeding.
in the morning. People don't realize that these steroid ointments and creams, they thin the skin.
So so I used to have it on my face. I couldn't ever put anything on my face. I used to have a really big bit on my cheek, and it was just like, well, I can't put it on my face unless I want everyone to see like a veiny face. So.
Exactly, because and from years of putting that stuff on, like even my skin, from years of having to put on, you know, things like Betnovate and hydrocortisone. These are steroid creams for eczema and psoriasis and things like that. You know, my skin is so sensitive now, even to just general, like, I might just walk past, I don't know, a chest of drawers or whatever, and if I catch my skin, it's so thin in certain areas that it can really graze easily. And I think that the kind of the turmoil you go through with a skin condition is a bit of a circle, because once you itch, or once you have the psoriasis, like, come to the surface of the skin, it breaks, you stress, you do it again, you stress, you do it, you stress, you do it again.
It's definitely,
vicious cycle.
It is that vicious cycle of, it's flared up because you've stressed, but you're stressed because it's flared up, and you're just like, so that's why I think my mindset just totally took a different turn, to be like, do you know what it is, and that's why I think it took a massive turn when I was single for that time, and obviously I did those things that ultimately scared the crap out of me, and then it just leveled up even more when I met Matt, because he was just someone that proved to me that, do you know what, no one actually cares, and like I said, the people that care are just not worth it anyway, because who are they if they've got an opinion? It says more about their life. So it just makes you like level up like a new grade of your life, to have that open mindset, unlock something else.
Having somebody there, like you've mentioned, Matt, like, see, having somebody, because this is kind of the other side of it, like, if we just take out kind of the goal aspect of going for competing, but the girl behind closed doors dealing with a skin condition, and then she's got her intimate relationships around her, you know, partner and everything else, there's that other side of it as well, and you need a supportive person. Like, Andrew knows when I'm having like a serious stress levels, and he'll grab my hand and be like, he'll just hold my hand, and he doesn't need to say anything, but he's almost like just saying like, you're gonna be all right, don't worry, just like take the itch out, like, you know. And it's those little things that I think really do help you manage it better, because it takes away the thought of everyone judging you, to realizing that somebody loves you and cares about you for just the way you are.
I used to have it on my back. Like, luckily I didn't have it too bad on my back now, but I couldn't reach my back, and then he'd be like, do you want me to put cream on your back? And I'm just like, no, I don't want you seeing my back. But actually he just didn't care. Like, he was more than happy. I'd be sat there like, right, there's a dot there, a dot there, a dot there, a dot there, and but luckily I can reach almost what's now. But I can't, like, I used to use Doverbet all the time. I can't even remember the last time I used Doverbet. Like, I have moisturizing cream, which I use as skin prep before the shows, and otherwise.
So, can I ask you a question? Like, what would you, because as somebody who's you know, dealt with skin conditions now as a moisturizer, what kind of things are you using? Because I kind of have a routine myself for my own kind of skin, but I'd love to hear what you use.
I'm such a terrible girl. I don't really do anything. So when it comes to just moisturizing, I actually it's a tub, I can't remember the name of it, but it's from Compact, because I used it on my first one. So I basically tried to obviously exfoliate, and I just use that because and in is it the Sanex body wash stuff, because I was told no pH, no this, no that, and I was doing everything by the book. So all I've done this time is just buy an even bigger tub, because I check in 3 times a week. So I basically do my own fake tan 3 times a week, because no one wants to check in like a marshmallow. So I'm like, anything is needed right now when you're 5.5 weeks out. So I'll try and tan like 3 times a week, and then when I'm not tanning, I will moisturize in between. So it's literally like trying to do everything, especially my psoriasis, especially knees and elbows and feet.
And like the stuff that Compact actually recommend is aqueous. Are you talking about aqueous?
Yes, that's it.
So aqueous is like, what's great about that, and I'm glad that they kind of promote that product, is for anyone with skin conditions, that's actually a very, very sensitive, low level paraffin based slightly for sensitive skin. So even with someone for like baseline eczema or skin conditions, the doctor would recommend that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a really good thing that I'm really pleased to see that they're recommending that as a moisturizer, because it's actually scientifically proven.
Yeah, definitely helps. So it's not just the moisturizing side of things. I know it's going to be good for, and I think that's why, and that again, that could be half the reason it disappeared between, you know, my show day, because I had the skin prep on. I mean, it's not a very intense skin prep, but it's enough that I had to exfoliate and just put that cream on, and then between obviously the diet and between just not caring and going, I'm doing it whether it's flared up or not, I'm doing it, I'm committed. And that mental state of being like, okay, I don't seem to care as much now. I think it's just everything added up. And then once you do something like getting on stage, your skin is irrelevant, because you've done something that's, like, for me, I'm not a stage person. I love the prep, I love the dedication, I love the challenge, I love tracking my lives, I love the routine. Being on stage, I shit my pants, because I'm not someone that likes attention, and I will never forget my first experience on stage. I was a quivering mess. I just stood there posing like that on the stage. But once you do something like that, you're just like, right, I've done something. And this is what I say to my clients: do something that scares you. Because my biggest lesson, and it was the same with, I won the photo shoot with Alex. I nearly didn't do it because I was like, I can't do photo shoots, I can't do this. And then again, it was one of the best things I ever did. So we set that up with our clients to be like, let's get you into a photo shoot, let's do something scary. And because I just want everyone to be feeling like amazing no matter what it is, because you truly just deserve to be proud of yourself no matter what. So then things like your skin condition, when you do something as big as the stage, just seems so irrelevant because you've done something even scarier.
Yeah, it's that self-validation, isn't it?
A couple of things I picked up there from sort of people that might be listening that have skin conditions and they're looking at competing. So Steff, you've mentioned before Sanex for when we were talking about hair removal.
Yeah.
So is that, you can get a moisturizer as well that you can use?
So so like Sanex is like, it's an actual paraben free, sulfite free, pH balancing wash. So it's like a liquid wash. The Sanex is brilliant. We recommend it for competitors because it allows the skin to basically be in its natural state before you put any tan and things on, which is a really good thing. For people like myself and Georgia, it's a perfect thing just to not aggravate skin. So you know, it's a staple in my bathroom. I'm not without Sanex anytime, anywhere. That is it. It's there. And then, in like giant bottles, I'm talking like, get yourself some macro. Anyway, so there's like that stuff. And then there's aqueous for people who have skin conditions, and something Georgia mentioned there, and I was thinking about it as well with that question you just asked, Sarah, which was giving listeners kind of advice. I found one of the most difficult things was to pinpoint actually what my skin condition was, because there was so many different, if you just type into Google skin conditions, there's psoriasis, there's eczema, there's this, there's that, all these different things. And then they'll pull up a whole ton of pictures and it's like, does yours look like this? Does it look like that? Does it, whatever. And Georgia, you've probably been through all of this, but see, when you go to a GP, a general practice, just your doctor, when you mention skin, it's like they go, I don't know what I'm going to do with you because I have no idea. And honestly, the journey of that for me, and I don't know kind of what that's been like with you, Georgia, but it wasn't until I went to see a proper dermatologist and somebody who actually had specialist understanding in skin conditions that I could try and get down to the reasonings as to why I was getting flare-ups. And you might have gone through this as well, but I would recommend, if you've got any concerns, ask for allergy testing from your GP. That's the first thing I'd be doing. Get a panel, like an allergy test. There's like 14 common allergens that you can get tested for, things like dairy, gluten, caffeine, all these kinds of things. Get that checked. And then if it's none of those things, you need to then start to look at, what other things are there that might aggravate in the home? Like for me, it's everything is eco-friendly. Like everything is, non-bio, whatever it is, for like your detergents and your washing, all of that stuff. That was kind of the next step. But then interestingly enough, like, and this is something I'm going to mention because I think it's good to touch on all areas for listeners because they'll all be experiencing different things.
Yeah.
Your medication that you might be taking, for whatever reason it is, could be for, I don't know, say it's like an SSRI for mental health, contraceptive, say any of these different types of medication that you're putting into your body, and you've got a skin condition, I highly, highly recommend talking to your doctor about figuring out what the side effects are of medication and skin. Because for me, when I took out certain medications, it was like a golden ticket for my skin. It was just like, oh my God, drop, like light bulb moment. It's none of these things that I've been thinking it is. And it was none of the allergens that my dermatologist thought. It was actually some other medication I was putting into my body that was flaring it up. Yeah. So spotting signs and what other things you can think of to help reduce symptoms if you have them. And then the most obvious one, of course, is lower stress levels.
Yeah. I guess that as well with things like going to a GP, I'm sure we've all had experiences where you can sometimes feel like maybe you've gone in with a certain question or query and it's maybe not answered in the way you thought it would be, or it's not answered at all. And I don't mean that, I don't want to be detrimental to GPs, but they are general practitioners.
Exactly.
So like you say, if you go with a skin condition or whatever it may be, whatever you're suffering with, it's like, I don't know what to do here. And I'd highly recommend that people don't settle for, okay, well, I'll just carry on with it.
100%. 100%. Like I've been in GP rooms where they've like pulled up the thing, whatever it is on the computer, and been like, I see this is a side effect, and I'm like, yeah, I've got it right here. I know what it is. And I'm like, of course, I'm not banding them in all the same camp, but you're absolutely right. They're general practice doctors that at the front line start to inquire about what's going on. And then you have to take a bit of responsibility. Like I've been really forward with my doctors to the point where I've kind of been like, I can't keep dealing with this certain thing. I want you to refer me to said dermatologist. And if they see that you've done a bit of your own research, they will do what they can to help push it along a bit further to get you there. So I definitely recommend, take a bit of ownership over getting there a bit quicker, because otherwise it might take you bloody, try this medication and this one and this one and this one. Suddenly you're like, none of this is helping me.
It's a bit like a prep, isn't it? We all are strong advocates of having a coach, because if you're going through something like a prep, we feel, I certainly feel, that you need someone at the helm that has the experience to guide you and help you and support you when you're tackling anything like a skin condition. Having some specialist help is, it's going to be, like you say, your golden ticket to be able to understand it more as well.
And Georgia, I'd be interested to know as well, like when you were going through your journey, did you find any like people to speak to who were dealing with the same thing? Because I found it really hard to find groups or people that talk about their skin conditions openly. Have you found any? Did you find them?
Well, so obviously, other than the body power experience, where that was a bit of an eye opener, from then on, I started, like I said, the first time I ever posted about it on Instagram, it was when it was on a good day, because I was a little bit nervous about what was going to happen. So there wasn't really anyone that I could speak to locally or in my area or anything like that. But the more, because you're a little bit worried, you're always worried about the negativity, when actually I got a lot of positivity from that post. The more I posted about it, the more I had people. Even now, I think I posted something probably a few weeks ago, and I had so much feedback from people saying like, I'm so glad you've posted this, I needed to read this today, or blah blah. So then I started using my social media for posting about it. And I like I said, I went from like, my first ever photo was just little dots on me where I had tried to control it as much as possible. And when you just dipping your toe in the water, like, no one needs to see the full extent of what it's like yet, to the point where I've got some photos where I'm just blasted in my stomach in a bikini in front of a window, natural lighting, this is it, this is how bad it's got. Like I said, I had it always in little bits, and then I just went through a very, very stressful time, and it literally, I was just head to toe. I've got photos and I put them online, and then compared to what it's like now, and I said half of it I think is just a lifestyle change, a mindset change, where I controlled a lot of external factors as well as internal factors, and it changed it loads. So mainly it was social media. Like, that's why I think I try and speak as much, and even through like my prep lecture, I will say the hard days, I will say the good days, because you don't need to like think that everything's always amazing all the time, but you also don't need to be that kind of negative side of things as well. Have that balance, be real with stuff. Skin sucks sometimes. Like, I used to get really bad rosacea on my face. It's quite bad in the winter. Matt will sometimes jokingly call me Rudolph because it's really bad on my nose. So even if I put foundation on my face later in the day, it will just be bright red. So I sometimes get red cheeks, but it used to be really, really bad. It's a lot better now. And that again is just, I think for me, just not caring so much, because my skincare is not that great. Girls would hate me because I use like, what is it, my micellar water, and that's it. Like, so my skincare is terrible. But it is just a case of being like, do you know what? Open up, share your story. The right people are going. I've still got, oh my God, I've got comments on some of those photos where they've gone, what's on you, or what's that on? And you've just gone, do you know what? They're just uneducated. They don't know, because it used to like hurt stuff with to have to explain. But do you know what? Some people are rude, but some people just don't know. And the one comment or two comment you might get. I've had some people say like, put a top on, or things like that. But do you know what? For the amount of comments and messages I've got, sod the one person that said like, you look ugly or whatever, because I've had so many other people. So I've tried to use social media for that. And like I said, it's the same with prep. Like, it's very easy to be like, oh my God, abs, I'm getting lean, life's amazing, when actually I'm like, I'm dying today. So that balance, you don't have to say prep sucks, because I'd love a flipping cake right now. But at the same time, like, I'm loving life right now because I love the journey of it. So have that balance and be a little bit more open with it, and know that use your social media, or if you've got people locally, even better, or doing something like this to spread awareness of it, means that you create a bit more of a community that way, to know that you aren't alone in it, and having your friends and family, even if they don't have it, support you automatically helps. And then finding people that do have it, and just sending that odd message to be like, that I really appreciated that, or sending a message to someone else and saying like, I'm here if you want to chat. Like, that's to use social media for good things. Like, honestly, the amount of negativity out there, just use it for good things.
Do you find that having those closest to you knowing and supporting you, does that help, or do you find that you're at a really strong level internally that actually it's not as helpful now, where you've both had that sort of journey and you feel stronger?
With anything, my family's always understood with my skin, because like I said before, it was really bad. I still had it, and I went to the hospital and did red light therapy and things like that, and it did seem to help a bit. That just patch of where it went really bad was just another level of badness. But with everything, they've always tried to this is the biggest thing I always heard, was people say, yeah, but I can't see it, I don't even notice it, because when you have friends and family, they don't see you for your skin, they see you for you. But when it's on you, you're just like, no, because all you're doing is looking at the massive mark on my neck. And when I used to work at the vets before I did this, I generally had like, my work family were very protective over me when I did have a big bout of it, because I'd wear long sleeve tops under my scrubs. And I did have a few clients come in and be like, oh, what's on your neck? And when you're just like, don't worry, I'm not giving anything to your animals, like I'm not diseased. And then they would hear that someone said something, they're like, you okay? And half the time it's just curiosity, or people don't know. But it's kind of understanding that the family or friends around you, as hard as it is to understand sometimes, generally do just see you for you. They're not staring at your skin just because it's on us, that we get self-conscious about it. So when you start understanding that, like you said earlier, Steph, that you are more than your skin, you are more than, it's the same with anything, I guess, with mental health and everything, like breaking free of what stigma you give yourself rather than anything else. And it's so easy to say but hard to do, but it takes a lot of work, and no one's ever going to be like I said, on form all the time, because like you said about your skin, if my skin's bad, I can preach all this now, but when you're having a bad day, you want to stick a hoodie on and not look at it, like. But I like I say, I'll always be grateful that so far touch wood, it's never going to be as bad as what it was. And if it was, I've got the right people behind me that I'll just cover myself in like moisturizer and hope it goes again eventually. Like, just one of those things.
It's amazing to hear that, actually, because even though the support from your close ones will help, for me, I certainly find that it's still my internal drive that's the strongest attribute that I have when I face a prep. I don't know about you, Steff, since you've met Andrew, has that helped? Because he is much more understanding than maybe people have been in the past, because you two are the super team, aren't you? You know. Really?
I like that. We'll keep that.
You are very, you are a team.
Yeah.
Like you and Matt, Georgia.
Yeah. It's like, he's just like, he is the left-hand side of my body fully. It's just having him as a support network through everything, really, because similar to what you said, George, it comes, it goes, it comes and goes. Certain things, as you get older as well, your body changes, your skin changes, things will pop up, crop up that you've never had before and then disappear again, and this kind of thing. And it's like Andrew has always been such a massive rock for me since we've been together, and he's seen me at my absolute lowest, like you've just mentioned there, Georgia, on the days that you just want to put a hoodie on and just pretend like it's not even real. And you're for me, like I've had some days where I'll wake up and I'm just in so much pain from the scratching and things like that. It's been a horrible, horrible day. Like, just, you don't want to face the world. You don't want to speak to people. You don't want to you don't want to do anything, because it's just, you feel so uncomfortable in your own skin. And it's those days that then, people like Andrew, who just makes you a cup of coffee and gives you a cuddle and says, you'll be all right. It's going to be okay by the end of the week. It does really, really help to have that support network. Something I wanted to mention as well was humor too. So I've got something up on my screen here. I don't know if you can see this. See if I can find it.
Instagram.
There's a little cartoonist and an illustrator called Ruby, and I've been following this person for like time. She does something called like Skin Mondays, and she sometimes does it on like eczema or psoriasis or other things, and she makes cartoons out of it. And now, to anybody who hasn't really maybe experienced some of these symptoms that me and George are talking about, they'll be like, what the hell? But see, when I watch some of these cartoons, they make me burst laughing, literally, because she cartoons them like the skin monster that comes again, stuff like this. And it's just, sometimes you need to lighten it, actually, to make it easier for yourself to deal with. And if anybody has got any, I can't recommend her enough. She's also got really cool other like illustrations and cartoons and stuff about completely other random stuff. But she suffers herself, and she almost echoes it in her cartoons, and it makes it funny. And you can take the mick out of it a little bit. It just lightens it, and it's been really good for me. So I thought I'd give that recommendation whilst we're talking about it.
You guys have got other halves, but it's just sort of dawned on me there, like we've spoken about in preps and stuff before, if people don't have a coach or family members that understand. I don't know if you guys have got any advice for people that are, single, they're looking at competing, doing a challenge, and they've got a skin condition. Things like what you just said there with the Instagram. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys could think of that help you sort of, if you were going to go onto the journey of competing and you have a skin condition, how you would maybe do that if you were, fairly alone.
I think, going back to sort of things, I searched for that.
Yeah.
I was on my socials going, looking at hashtags like eczema treatment, eczema sufferers, skin condition this or whatever, just to find anything at the time where I was in my most kind of struggling with it. And I think if you're a single person and you're dealing with a skin condition, but this is something you really want to do, my biggest piece of advice would be to find, and again, it comes back to things we've said in other pods, Sarah, like find ways of being really mindful and present and calming yourself down and focusing on the goals that you have rather than it. And if that's things like meditation, if it's yoga, if it's journaling, if it's, anything that you can do to kind of, again, we come back to what you give control to controls you. If you literally give control completely to the skin, it is going to affect your ability to follow through with a goal that you really want to do. And I think like listening to Georgia's journey, you've kind of emulated that in a way that you've come through this whole thing where you've realized my skin condition does not define me, and I'll be damned if it puts me off my goals. And if you over there have an issue with my skin condition, then fuck off.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So because I was so like I said, I went through a very stressful time, and then I was actually single when I did the body power, and when I went to Ibiza and things like that. Like I didn't have I had a couple friends, but I didn't have obviously anyone that got it. There wasn't no one with the skin condition. Had this chance to do body power. Like I said, I nearly said no, but I set myself a plan. I didn't know as much anyway. I don't know anywhere near as much as I did now. I was like, right, I just eat my chicken and rice. I'll have some set meals. I barely weighed out my food. I just had a plan. I didn't have a coach. I was like, I get myself up at 6. I'm going to do this. I just had a routine, had a goal in my head. The goal scared the shit out of me. In my head, I thought I can still pull out if I need to, but it's a focus. And as the years have gone on, I've clearly been someone that needs that focus because I love it. I love the drive from it. But yeah, I was single then. And obviously when it first played out, I was like, no one's going to like me. Why would they like me? Like I'm a broken mess. But yeah, you do this shit for yourself. You just have to keep pushing. And like I said, I stopped going to the gym for a while because I was like, I don't know, I can't be seen. I used to wear long sleeve tops in the gym because I was just like, oh my God, they can't see it. I was sweating because I was wearing long sleeve tops. And I used to just go, right, I've just got to just keep doing it every day. And I used to have friends that I would see in the gym and they'd be like, but no one sees that. And that's when that Dr. Zeus reference came in, because it was something that I just remembered all the time. And I used to look at the people in the gym and be like, actually, the people that are in my life that I see in the gym know I've got psoriasis, so they don't care. And the people I don't know them for a reason, so it doesn't really matter. If they're not going to judge me for my skin, they'll probably judge me for my form. Like, someone's always got to be. If you're going to be a judgmental person, you're going to be a judgmental person no matter what. If you're not, you're too busy looking at yourself. You should be in the gym focusing on your own goals, not focusing about what someone else is doing or looking like. It says more about the person if you're judging someone else and focusing about yourself. So I was just very much like, right, let's just do this. Let's have a go. I was up in the morning, get my cardio done, and just had this goal. Learned so much from body power. Taught me a lot when it came to then going to Ibiza, being in the club, because again, it's just me and my friend, and we just met so many nice people out there. And again, like I said, the first night out, I had typical Ibiza sparkly shorts and some sort of crop top. So I've got pictures of me in like one of the biggest clubs with bloody skin all out everywhere. Like no one cares. No one generally cares as long as you are happy. And like half the time, sometimes I'd fake being happy to the point that you convince yourself you're happy. And then you're like, oh my God, I had the best night ever. Like just by stopping getting so worried about it and just being like, right, I'm just going to carry on. And then next thing you know, you had the best night ever because you stopped thinking about it. So it is just taking control of your thoughts. And like I said, it is easier said than done. Once you control that, you honestly just feel like you can control anything. And then, like I said, so but that time being single just leveled my life up to another extreme. Then Matt just came in and it just leveled up even more. And it's just not stopped ever since. It's going to keep going.
How did body power come about?
So that was just through social media as well. I think they just literally messaged me, said, do you fancy working at a stand? It was only a small company, little Cornish girl. I don't do things like that. I can't travel across the bridge. I can't do that. Do you know what? Again, like I said, I was single. I managed to convince a friend that I knew further up country and said, can she come do it with me? And they were like, yeah. And honestly, that's, like I said, that's how I've always learned to do the stuff that scares you. Those big freaking things that scare you are going to be the best things to ever happen. And it's like anything with my goals now. So like these next few shows scare the crap out of me, but I've got an even bigger show in October, and that makes me want to poop my pants. But
you don't talk about that on here.
I can do.
What are you doing in October?
So I'm going to do Arnold's in October. Yay. But so it's very scary because obviously, like I said, I've done the 2 shows, but the 1 show, the UK Up show. And I'm basically using this year to just really see where I fit, really get the experience. Because like I said, the prep I love, the stage I'm not so good at. So I want the experience. And like you don't get the experience if you don't do it. So I'm never going to know. I want feedback. I want to know what I need to do. I need to know where I need to get that confidence, because you're not going to get confidence unless you do it. So I've got obviously these first 3 shows. And then we were just like, do you know what? If you get on that stage, every other stage is hopefully going to not seem as big, and I can get feedback. Like my logic is I'm going in, I think it's a novice and open. Like I could go in the beginners, first timers, all that kind of stuff, but I want to stand up against the people that are competitive to see what I need to do. Like I'm in this to grow, I'm in this to get better, not just for the sake of doing stuff. Like I want to keep improving, I want to keep pushing, and that's the only way to do it, is just go and do it. So yeah, that's absolutely scary, but it's that mindset of constantly pushing for more. So we do that, we get feedback, we find out what I need to do, because my mindset is 100% there to keep pushing, because as I said, it's for me that I want to keep growing, but it's also proving to everyone else that you can just do it. You don't need to have like loads of money, you don't need to have the shit hot genetics, you don't need to just work your flipping ass off and believe in something. Like I have to convince myself that, like, it's that whole manifestation side of things, and like I really do try and be like, I can win something, and then I'm like, that sounds really stupid to say. Like, why would you say that? Because what if you don't? And then you're like, no, I'm in control of that. Yeah, I know. But because it's a different show, I'm battling my thoughts all the time. And I do have to pull myself up on it. And it's a bit off topic from skin, but it's about like mental attitude. Even Jasmine from Compact, I graded to like a really, really lovely pair of sparkly cocktails, the 508s, and they just seemed very not me, but I love them. But I was just like, I can't wear shoes that nice. And she's like, right, you need to stop talking about yourself like that. Like I'm like, and then you look back on it and you just think, I was convincing myself I'm not worthy enough for a pair of shoes. Like that sounds so silly. And so even now is constantly telling yourself you can do whatever you want. You are worthy of some sparkly shoes. I watch a lot of RuPaul, but you have the inner saboteur telling you can't do it. And that's the thing. And I was a very chubby kid. I got bullied. And then in my past, I was very much a different person to who I am now. That's a darkness in itself, in the sense of I was just not a confident person. I was told who I was rather than believed who I was, compared to now. So I do have those back thoughts of the person I was back then convincing me that I can't be who I want to be now. But yeah, it's just telling yourself, like, pull yourself up on those thoughts. And I remember Jasmine calling me and just being like, I'm calling you because I'm not having these negative thoughts and things like that. And it's something I try and tell my girls as well, because I've noticed a lot coming out of lockdown. They've got people saying, why are you doing this? Why are you dieting? Don't get too skinny. Just have one bite. And like, I just get rid of those people. Yeah. I've got such a closer circle of friends online than I do actually around me anymore, because
I feel that.
Yeah, they knew me for who I was, and they don't like who I am now, I guess. I don't know. Whereas like even Sarah from my hen do, Sarah's coming to my hen do, Sarah's coming to my wedding, like my bikini sisters are all there, and I don't really have anyone from Cornwall there. That's why I'm so big on kind of social media being a positive thing, because that's how I've got my circle. And also just your mindset and just pulling yourself up on those negative thoughts. Like when you do feel you've got that negativity, know that the people that seem like they're really confident and doing well and doing amazing, know that they still have to tell themselves that they can do these things and they can believe in themselves and all this. So sorry, I went off on a bit of a mindset thing, but
but it's so that, and me and Steph have touched on this before, it's also okay to feel negative. Like that's normal, well, what is normal for a start? But if something is affecting you negatively, or you have a negative thought, you don't need to feel bad all the time that you're having these thoughts. It's about maybe understanding where that thought's coming from, and then working out, if it's something that becomes quite detrimental to your own, if you're in prep or whatever it may be, then you're going to need to address it. But if it's, something negative about someone has said something that's negative towards you, whether it's skin condition, prep, you're too skinny, you're too fat, whatever it is, it's about processing and perhaps seeing that they're not as educated as you are, or they don't understand it. They're maybe not being nasty. And the thoughts you have, you can shelf them and move forward being that person that you've grown into. But understanding that some days you have negative thoughts, some days you feel incredibly positive. There's no right or wrong, really, is there? And it's accepting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, totally. I think like it's life, isn't it? It's the ebbs and flow of your human emotions and your psychology. And Andrew says this to me all the time, you're only human. You can't expect so much of yourself. Like sometimes my expectations are ridiculous. Like they're just ridiculous. And he's like, Steph, have you heard what you're saying? I'm like, this can be done. This can totally be done. You know, this is going to be, he's like, Steph, just take it down here.
Yeah, just take it down a notch.
You're not going to manage all of this in like the next 5 minutes. So just like, sometimes I have to kind of reel back and go, I've got these plans and these ideas and these visions or goals that we're talking about here. And sometimes you have to just remind yourself, and this is something I do now, that they might not happen right now or in 5 months or in a year. But if you've got that goal, and like Georgia, you've said, you know, this year is about testing the water. It's about seeing where you place. It's about standing up with the competitive classes and actually giving it a go. That I say this to my clients all the time. Guys, don't be scared of putting yourself up there and giving it a shot, because you have to have somewhere to begin from. You will
you have to know where you're going to learn from.
Yeah, you've got to do, and see, since the introduction of like things like the first timers and the junior classes and the novice classes, they're great because they give more opportunity. But what they do, what I've seen happen, is that they're giving people who maybe if they didn't have the option of a first timer, they just go into an open show. But because there's an option of a first timer, it's almost like they're like, I'm not good enough for a big show. Yeah. Yes, you are. Yeah. You're perfectly fine to go into these open shows. You don't have to start in the first timers if you don't want to. You know, you can use that as a stepping stone, but don't limit yourself if this is your first year. There's hundreds of shows to choose from, and maybe do a first timer, then go and do an open class somewhere else and just see where you go. And I think don't limit yourself at all. And, you know, have your expectations and have your goals, but don't beat yourself up if you're not there now doing it, you know, and putting all this pressure on yourself. Now I'm going off on a bit of a rant, but yeah.
But it's managing expectations, isn't
managing it? Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Like when you first told me about doing the Arnold's, Georgia, I remember you saying, I've got no expectations. And it was like, yes, like,
yeah,
you know, if you've got to the stage in itself, we always say, getting through a prep, you don't realize that people do, you know, don't even survive a prep.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think as well, I put a lot of pressure on myself because obviously I've done the one show and I did so well for my first show. I was so proud. And then especially in the championships, that then I think, oh my God, like I'm going into these next 3 shows. People are watching me now. People are expecting, like, I did that show, I did well, like they're going to think I should do well in this one. But at the end of the day, the things I have to tell myself continuously is the fact that they all have different looks, that like they're all different federations. Bikini is very subjective. It's down to what they want. Like I'm not made for PCA, so I wouldn't go for PCA because it's another level of leanness and condition. And then if you even PCA and 2 bros, I know it's completely different, but that's the point. They're completely different looks. So I'm here to find a federation I look good for, I feel good for, I fit, but also at the same time, remember, you have no control with who turns up on the day. You cannot dictate who the judges are going to like. You cannot dictate who is going to turn up, good, bad, whatever. You could be the best person on that stage if you competed 1 week before, and you could be, do you know what, 5th on the next week, because you can't dictate who's there. Freaking yourself out over just finding out who you're going to be on stage with is not going to help. But at the end of the day, when you realize that the only thing you can control in amongst a series of uncontrolled things is your own effort, you literally just go in there and be like, did I do everything? And then if you can go in and go, right, I made sure I left no stone unturned and I came last, I did what I needed to do to bring my best package to stage. And like, screw what everyone else thinks. Like if I won my last show and then I came like 6th and then they go, oh, well, she must have been shit. Like, I know when I compare my photos already that I've done the work. I have made sure I've changed, and that's enough for me. But I now want feedback, because obviously I couldn't compete before because COVID. I now want feedback to actually see what they want, as well as the fact of getting on stage and not being a nervous wreck. So I'm doing this whole thing for me. It's lovely when people support you, but remember, when you're bulking, no one claps for you because they don't care. People are clapping when they see an ab and they say it's lovely. But you've got to bear in mind, I haven't had a pizza or cake since Boxing Day. So it's flipping hard. So I'm doing this for me. It's lovely when people are there to support you, but also know, like, you just need to know that you have given it everything and you can't control, you know, don't feel sad, whatever the outcome is, as long as you know you've put the work in. That's all that matters. Because then you just go away, find out what it was. Did you need to come in leaner? Did you need to build more size? And just go away and do it. Like, you're doing this whole thing. That's the fun of the process. It's a constant process to be growing and learning more. Obviously, it's competition. Everyone wants to do their best and get somewhere. There's that element to it. But at the end of the day, as long as I know I've left no stone unturned and I've really pushed it, that's going to be enough for me, that, you know, and as long as I go on stage and I don't poo my pants, I'm perfectly fine. Because it's just getting on stage and getting that confidence and knowing I've done everything I needed to do. And then what will be will be. I cannot control the judges' thoughts, I cannot control their actions, and I cannot control who else turns up. There could be, you know, I might be lucky enough that I'm exactly what they want, I might not be at all, and I can't control that. So it will be what it will be, as long as I've done everything I can.
We've sort of aptly named this episode Facing Adversities. Judging in itself can feel like an adversity, because you don't know what the judges are thinking, and you don't know until you step on stage with different federations and, you know, different competitions where you're potentially going to fit. And Steff and I have touched on this before. You know, I've competed with federations and thought that I fit, and then realized maybe I don't when I'm, you know, going up to the pro league. It's different to the amateur league, and there's so much complexity to what you're being judged on, that if that deters you, or, you know, I guess infiltrates your thoughts, are you ever gonna compete?
Yeah. And it's even just like, even when you watch the Olympia with the bikini classes, the difference between the two winners within 2 years is just like, you would think like you hit the nail on the head, I'm coming in conditioned, solid muscle, and then that wasn't what they wanted. It's so subjective. So you just have to do you know, no one else can be you. So just absolutely bash out the hell out of you.
One thing I'd say as well is, with regards to getting feedback and doing different shows in different federations, you might find this, I don't know, with the federations that you're competing with, sometimes you can't get feedback. So how do you think, for you, if, you know, say you come sixth and you've come first in other shows, you've matched the criteria that you found on the website, say, Erin, your coach is really happy with where you're at, you're happy, you go in, you come sixth, and there's people that have placed higher than you that haven't met the criteria, and you can't get feedback, how do you think that would potentially affect you as a competitor? Or have you not really thought about that? Because you got to think of how many competitors there are at a show. Sometimes you can't get the feedback you desire.
I don't think I've ever really thought about it, but on the spot now, you're going to be disheartened if you generally feel you fit, and if you look at the photos. But I think my biggest thing will always be, let's compare my photo to the winner, to the second place, to the third place. Let's see, am I similar? It might be the fact that I had a strong back, but I had very little glutes, but the top three all had glutes. And then I'm like, okay, that's why. That's what they were looking for. They might have a really tiny waist and I came in looking watery. So it then start being very nitty picky to be like, what was it about me? And I think it would just be down to photos to have to compare, and then also getting other people's opinions. So again, say to Erin, these were my stage shots, these are who won. Again with Matt, just to get, because you're going to see something completely different to like say Erin or Matt or someone else. So getting other people's perspectives. So if you can't get feedback, it's a case of just comparing and just seeing, like, was it condition, was it muscle size, was it ratios, was it just the fact that they were just way more confident on stage? Because that could be in itself, like, you could go on there and it's like they always say, you know, you could look absolutely shit hot, but if someone can outpose you and they look worse but they can out angle you, it's one of those things. That's why everything's such a necessity when it comes to it, because someone could just not look that great backstage, but when they're on stage they actually own it, they take the spotlight and they've got all their posing nailed, even though generally if you stood side by side on flex you look amazing. That's why it's everything as a whole. So it might just be the fact I didn't pose as well, like someone else was really confident. So it's just like trying to think of everything as a whole and then comparing constantly.
And Steff, would you agree with that from sort of a coaching point of view and your own athletic journey?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think, and you and I probably both, Sarah, but certainly I have been on the end of feedback that I've thought, what? And then I've been on the end of feedback that I've been like, yeah, I see that, I get that, that's cool. So I think as you're longer tooth in the game, you kind of see and experience feedback in different ways, and it's actually a point of contention for me, because I think there's a lot of, and I guess I'm thinking with organization head on here now, but like there's a lot of kind of not really good structure around getting feedback. at shows. Some shows you can go up and speak to them at the end. Some shows they don't like you to do that, and you can email somebody. Some shows, like, they can say to you, right, we're going to do an overall, like, I'll take the NBF, for example. They do something called From the Judges Table, where they do an actual sit-down video with the judges, post the show, and they go through each category, each class, why, and then they put it up on their socials so everyone can watch it, so they don't have to do all the individual. That's brilliant. So, like, for me, I think it's the responsibility of the organizations to be a little bit more official around their giving feedback. And if that means assigning it to, right, this judge, you're going to take this category and this category, and it's up to you to write the notes down to give the feedback. Same with you, same with you. Then it starts to help people know exactly where they're going wrong. Because when you go to the end of a show, and I've been in this situation, when you go to the end of the show, you go to the judges table and you ask said person for feedback. They've watched potentially 200 to 300 competitors in that day. They're knackered. They want to go home just like we do. And you're like,
have a burger.
And you're like, please, where did I go wrong? And then sometimes get disheartened with the lack of the feedback that you get, or exactly what you just mentioned there, Georgia, the vagueness of it. Because sometimes the vagueness of the feedback can leave you feeling like, done all that, like I've got that. So if she just took it a little bit because she had the same shape, but she was a bit tighter, and then I get my photos back and actually we're exactly the same, and say you do analyze it with your coach, or you do analyze it with somebody who is objective about bodies on stage, it's very hard for the competitor to come away from that with anything to work on, which is why I think the feedback needs to be thorough. And yeah, this is me with my expectations again. I can't tell anybody what to do, but I'd love it if it was that way. But I think exactly the points you've just made there, Georgia, which is you've got to take it in relative as a whole picture. And I think whatever you get from your feedback, take it. Don't be emotional about it. Take the feedback, whatever it is. Go and sit down with your coach, or sit down with somebody who is going to give you honest, true feedback, not just because they know you and they like you, but it's going to give you honest, true feedback about, okay, this is where you place and this is where we think it should be. Because we've all been to those shows as well, where you'll hear it sitting in the audience. You'll hear somebody behind you go, I didn't have it that way. Did you have it that way? I hadn't. And then you'll hear somebody a few rows down being like, they'll be like calling it out, like, that's a joke. There shouldn't be this or any other. And you're like, everybody wants their own person to win. So it's everybody, but it's interesting. It's just really interesting, because when you go to a show, the spectator themselves, the person in the audience who maybe is passionate about bodybuilding. I've done this for the last few years. I'm a bodybuilding geek, right? But I've got my own wee pad with all the names of the people on it, and I try and call it every show I go to. I sit there and I go, right, I have that person there, that person there, that person there. Like my own challenge to see if I can judge correctly. You know what I mean? The spectator can see.
Yeah.
So if the judges don't make a fair analysis of the bodies on stage, it starts to affect the reputation of the organization. So that's kind of something to I'm speaking it from all angles here now, but that's kind of the judging side of things is important. And I guess you as the athlete, and me having been there, and Sarah, you no doubt are going to tell us as well about yours, but having had that moment where you go, oh, man, that is just not feedback that helps me at all. That's hard, especially after all of that time, 6 months of prep. My preps are like 42 weeks, because to get in the condition I like to get into, they're crazy. And then to get something like that is just like, yeah.
And that's why, as soon as Georgia was saying this year is to test the water and try different federations to understand where she fits, I've had those thoughts before. And then the reason I picked up on it is because I've had some really, really non-constructive or very, very vague feedback. Yeah. And then I'm like, what the fucking hell do I do now? And, like you're already probably feeling, Georgia, 5.5 weeks out from your show, you're a little bit unhinged anyway, prep brain. And, your thoughts aren't maybe as rational as they would be. And then you come off the back of a show and you for yourself, depending on how the first one goes, you've then got another show and you've got a series of shows. it's how you digest that, whether you get feedback, what that is, when you critique it, how you're going to come in for your next show. Try not to be over dieted, whether you're going to have periods of coming back up to maintenance, or whether you'll go for things like a meal out after your first show because you've got another show. And all of those psychological, I mean, that could go on several tangents, obviously, but it's almost like for the listeners, if they can hear that, you know, it's that intrinsic reason why you're competing, what you've achieved, and then be able to critique your performance using photos, using things like that. And if you get feedback, bring it into one big picture moving forward.
Totally. And I think it's important to note as well that it means so much to you at that point. So don't worry if the emotions come to the surface. You might have a cry. You might like come away from the judging table and be like, oh my God, like this is so hard, you know. And I've been there. Oh my God. Like the first couple of years I've competed, I think, you know, you go through the motions with different placings and things like that. And because it means a lot to you, and that's okay. It's just then taking that like wee step back and going, okay, got this here, I'll wait for the photos, I'll speak to coach, I'll talk to people who've seen it, and then you can step back and go reflection process.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? And that's all of it. And you know, when we're talking about this, it's not to sound negative. Again, the purpose of these podcasts is to be straight up and real. These are the experiences like that we've had, and they're all, you know, everyone's going to have their own different kind of journeys and perceptions of things, but it's exactly what Georgia, you've said throughout the whole thing, which is you got to do this for you, and it's got to be your main motivation, and it's got to be like, despite whatever else is going on in the world, you've got this intrinsic want to get up there and do this for yourself. And that feeling of just knowing you've ticked all those boxes, like you said, if you've left no stone unturned and you've got up there, that's all you can do. That's it.
Yeah.
And then just use the logic of it. If that, all I'm thinking is, you know what, if I do get like kind of a lower place, don't get a place, whatever, get my feedback, it's just going to make the comeback even better, because I'll make sure it comes back even harder. Like,
it just drives me.
Yeah, just use that motivation.
You know, that's why I wanted to delve into that, because you saying that, someone could be one person could listen to this and go, oh, okay, maybe it's okay if I don't come first place. You don't have to win every single show you do. And I guess one more question I've got for you, Georgia, is so your first show you did, you came first, and then you went into the British finals and you came second. Was that in 2 categories?
Yeah, so I did the beginners and I did the fitness model category. God knows why, because that's all about being diva-ish. But yeah, that's not me. I just got told that's what I was doing. I didn't have a lot of research, and then 2 weeks out, I was just practicing my posing. I didn't get a lot of practicing, and then my coach was like, "Right, this is your posing for diva." And I was like, "Sorry, what?" I thought it's the same, and it wasn't. So, being the unsassy person I was, I binged watched. This is why I love RuPaul now. I do still think I am like them walking on the stage. And I do try and think I'm sissy that walk, but I am more like a drunk person on cobbles, but I will get it. But yeah, so yeah, I came first, and then I was that desperate for pizza after my first show, because obviously UK bring out pizza, and then Matt was like, go on for the overalls. And I didn't even know what that was. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go on against everyone that's come first. Like, why would I do that? I've got no chance. Give me the pizza. So I hid some pizza backstage before it all went. And then I went on the overalls. And then I won the overalls. So yeah, and then I went into the championships, which I nearly didn't do because I was very tired from prep. Matt was like, just do it, come on, it's one more week, because I had to hit some dark places for my prep, and I carried on, did another peak week and came second in both of them. And I'm so glad I did it. I was absolutely battered, but it taught me a lot. It gave me more stage experience, and that's what just fueled my fire to be like, right, let's now level it up again. Let's try loads of other federations. Let's just keep pushing, because what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to come last, and I care what other people think if I've come last. Like, what's that? I'm just going to have to tell a bunch of strangers that have been supporting me I didn't place, and then they'll be like, oh, we're not going to follow her, when actually I'm going to be like, do you know what? I'm going to say, right, this hasn't been my show, this hasn't been my day, but I gave it everything. So now I'm going to find out what I need to do, and I'm going to come back even better. And you wait till the day I say I'm first again. Like, honestly, it will happen. So just use it as like fuel to really push even more.
Yeah, because you sort of answered my question there about how it felt getting a first place and then at the finals coming second. Because I personally, when I won the first show I won, the following show that was 3 weeks later, I came second. I don't know about you, but I actually felt like that was the best lesson I learned as a competitor, because I realized that I'm not always going to win and I've got to fucking fight and push for it.
I think yes, 100% of that. But also because it was my first show, I went into my first show with a lot of people saying, you're going to win, you're going to do this. And I'm like, well, you have no idea. Like, this is my first show. I have no idea what I'm doing. And you also know nothing about shows, because it was the people that know nothing about competing that were like, you're going to do so well. And I'm like, well, you don't know who I'm up against. And I looked at some of the girls I was up against and I was like, oh. So then, so going into the championships, I just freaked myself out more. It's like, I'll just go there to do it for myself, like no expectations. And then obviously when you do get in the top 3, you're like, oh my God, this could happen. Like, oh my God. And then, when I got called second, a part of you does sink because you are so close. But then you are like, do you know what? Like, I got second, like, holy shit. Like, I didn't think I'd get anything in the championships for my second ever show of a championship. Then it does bring you back home a little bit to be like, do you know what? You can't expect it to just happen. And then you've got to see the both sides. And I think it's very easy. I do myself get very wrapped up to thinking what other people are going to think when they watch your story. Like, my views are getting higher. People love seeing the journey. They want to see your show day. So then you think you're going to hype up on show day. Everyone's going to watch you. Everyone's going to see your social media. They want to know what's happened. So then you feel like you let people down if you don't place. I think it's more that worry than your actual worry. And now I've just got to the point where I'm like, actually, bikini people know it's subjective. Bikini people know that you've done. So a bunch of strangers that will be like, oh, well, she just looked shit that day. It doesn't matter. Like, Sodom. So I think that's the thing. And that's when it comes down to it being you more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Matter.
And Steff, have you got anything else that you wanted to ask Georgia while we've got her here? Or do you think, I mean, obviously we have covered a lot and it's been,
It's been 8. I know I've got an abs class in a minute and I got a win.
I think I know you've got, like, you kind of covered so much, and I think it's a nice kind of wrap up, because we've come from talking about something very specific into a bit of a mindset, and also touching upon kind of the experience as a competitor. And again, that's why I always like having, and Sarah, we talk about this, having people on from all different stages, because you know, it's funny, Georgia, you were like, I feel so old earlier. And I'm like, honey, I feel like I'm like, Brittany, I'm like the grandma sitting here right now, 2012. And I'm like,
it feels so good though, isn't it? Just to ramble again as we do best, Steff.
I don't have any more questions. I just think it's been so nice to hear.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been so nice to hear your journey. And
thank you.
To be open about some of those things. So, like, total respect to you for being open about things that you struggle with as well.
It's nice. It's nice because, like I said, I've had quite a few messages in the past. It's not what it was. I'm very grateful it's not what it was, but I'm grateful I had it because it taught me so much. And every time I speak to someone, I've come so much further. And every time I speak to someone, I say, this is just a start. I've been saying this is just a start for about 2 years now. But this is just a start. It's just going to keep going. Like, watch out. End of this year, it's going to be another level next year. You've got to constantly keep wanting more. So,
Georgia, where can people find you? So Instagram, is that your best place?
Yeah, that's my best place. Georgia Gilbert 23. I gave it to Steff earlier so she can tag as well.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And then, Steff and I, same Instagram. So Sarah Parker Hatchard for me, and Steff
Noble Figure Pro.
Cool. And I'll put this on my YouTube. Steff will upload it on the Pro Prep YouTube as well. But Georgia, I'm sure you're happy with people reaching out like we are. So if anyone wants to
definitely
just hit us up.
Absolutely. And as always, any topic specifics you want to hear about, this is now nicely veering into more specific things for people. So we're pretty deep into the episodes now, so it's exciting. So let us know if there's anything else you want to know about.
Thank you, girls.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a lovely evening.
You too.
You guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.